I never lose, either I win or I learn. Those are my only options, to whomever it may concern. About to be a hot topic, play with fire, you get burned. Ain't nobody give me nothing, whatever I got, better I earn. I never lose, but I learn. I either win or I
Thank you for
learn.
listening to the
Those are my
Strong
only
AF
options.
podcast.
This episode is brought to you by our Weight Loss Transformation Masterclass. After spending over 30 years of my life being obese and dealing with chronic constipation issues, I decided to get my certification in fitness, nutrition, and wellness to empower myself to lose over 70 pounds and keep it off.
Watching my brother and dad have a heart attack within weeks of each other, I knew I had to make a change, but I wasn't sure what to do. After researching and studying to get my certification in fitness, nutrition, and weight loss management, I was able to use this knowledge I gained to lose over 80 pounds and keep it off.
Now we're passionate about helping others to avoid the same mistakes that we made and changing the world through holistic health and wellness. So our approach is focused on mindset because overall health, including our mental health, means everything to us.
Imagine waking up with more energy than you imagined possible, no longer worrying about digestive issues and bloating.
We're here to show you how to ditch the fad diets and make small changes in your lifestyle, which will make a massive impact on your quality of life.
These are changes that you will be able to pass on for generations to come. Go to veganstrongandfit.com/masterclass today to sign up for your free masterclass and get started on a happier, healthier journey.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Strong AF podcast. I'm Ashley.
I'm Yuri.
And we have a wonderful guest on with us tonight, and we love this so much because we've actually been to her restaurant a couple times, even though it's about an hour-ish drive for us.
Wow.
It's totally worth it.
Definitely worth it.
Amazing.
So, owner of Sanctuary Bistro, which is a family business located in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we have owner Jennifer Horton on with us tonight, whose passion for Sanctuary Bistro began at age 13, along with her husband, who is actually the executive chef there, Barry Horton. And he was also nominated by Veg News 3 years in a row for Best Vegan Restaurant. And we completely understand why, because the food is incredible as well as the service. And their mission is to spread kindness and compassion, to raise awareness through amazing food and service, and provide a place for people to share and spread this philosophy. So welcome on, Jennifer. We're so happy to have you.
Hi, thanks for having me. This is so fun.
So tell us a little bit about, I know that online on your website, you have definitely a wealth of knowledge, and you've been passionate about this for a long time, starting at age 13, wanting to do this. So tell us kind of where that began, what spurred your interest.
Well, my friend came home with a PETA flyer, and we started, we were just two really young kids who really just wanted to start like an environmental club. And I think we were the only two kids in our own little environmental club, both shy kids who were just, wanting to do something better for the world. This little PETA flyer was about cows. I remember that specifically. And I gave up red meat that day and never ate it again. Mm-hmm. And at the time, it was, I was considered vegetarian because I didn't eat red meat. That was like a big step for my community and where I came from. And we were very big meat and potatoes. And so my mom was like, okay, well, if you're going to do that, you're going to buy your veggie burgers. So I took my babysitting money and I bought it was Boca Burgers. That was really the only option that I can remember at the time. And I bought my Boca Burgers. And it's so funny now because my mom eats mostly veggie burgers now. And so we've come a long way, but it was a long process for me. I gave up red meat first and then seafood later, and cheese and dairy was last. But so I had a long process to get there. but now in January it'll be 15 years. Barry and I have both been vegan for 15 years. So it took me 15 years to become vegan, and now we've been 15 years vegan. So
that's incredible and very impressive, because I mean, I think back just a few years ago, there weren't really a lot of vegan options, and it wasn't a big thing. So, you know, restaurants weren't really offering those. Hard to find in the grocery store too, as well, I'm sure. So tell me about that journey, because I mean, looking at it now, it's a lot easier to be vegan in today's age, but what was it like then?
Well, it's definitely easier now. I also happen to marry a chef. That helps a lot too. But I like to cook. I'm more of a rustic. I like rustic cooking anyways. So I'm more of like soup person or lentils. So a lot of the food that I just like to cook naturally can be very easily made vegan. So that works really well. And Barry's been cooking his entire life. Wow. He grew up in this small town of Kansas. It was only 1,000 people. And he used to walk home from school. They were allowed to leave school and walk home to have lunch. And he would watch a cooking show while he ate his little peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then walk back to school in elementary school. But we met at a vegetarian hotel restaurant. And so neither of us were vegan at the time, but we met there. And I remember Barry's last burger. I wasn't eating burgers at the time, but he had like a bacon cheeseburger. And then the next day we went vegan. But because we worked at the Stanford Inn, I was their wedding planner and the owner's assistant, and he was the executive chef there. So
wow, that's awesome.
That started our journey together.
That's incredible. I think that's very important to be able to start that journey together, because it's really hard to do that separately. If we hadn't started our journey together, I don't think that we could have made it. It would have been so difficult to have that in the house and have those temptations around.
Especially if it was up to me, because vegan was never our goal. We was leaning towards more of a pescatarian. And then we started having, what was it, 2 or 3 days a week where we were eating seafood, and then you brought it up. It's like, I don't think we really even care for this anymore.
Yeah, I was like, why do we keep buying this just because we think we need it? Like, we're not even really eating it. We're basically living without it anyway. So why don't we just go ahead and remove it?
Right. I think, for us, we did a lot of change. Well, I mean, I had already been gluten-free and was already sort of on that journey. We worked in a vegetarian restaurant. He wasn't really thinking about it. But then as we sort of started dating, I don't know, it just all sort of clicked. Like all of a sudden we're like, well, why did we choose to work here? Why are we, but not fully accepting it? You know, why are we making all these ethical, compassionate decisions, but then not doing that fully with our food? But it was people always say, I couldn't do it. It's so hard. And it can be hard at the beginning, because we're all creatures of habit.
Yeah.
And so we cook most of us cook the same meals every week. So Barry does whatever he does in the restaurant, but at home, we don't cook like we cook at the restaurant. It's very basic. We have a barbecue day, and we have our soup day. We have very set schedule, and that might rotate throughout the week. But so we had to slowly bring in recipes that we liked enough to make every week. And as those recipes increased, it got a little bit easier and a little bit easier. And then it became fun, because we were finding things that we really liked. And then after we got through a couple months, like I think dairy was the hardest maybe. After we got through like a few months, I didn't even crave it. And then after the first year, which maybe is the hardest, then you start to think about food in a different way. Like the foods that used to be boring for me, like broccoli, actually started to taste really good. These basic food groups started tasting so much better. And then it just became easier and easier. And then later, a few years into it, you really start to think about what all that food was,
Mhm.
and then now the idea of it 15 years in, I'm like, I can't even imagine eating some of it, because it really can gross me out a little bit, because you
Yeah.
start to think deeply about what that food is and where it comes from. And people ask us a lot about that. And the food system is so broken that if we don't do something drastic about food, one, compassion for the animals, but also the idea of a supermarket, like where you buy
Mhm.
these meat parts wrapped in plastic, is so not sustainable for our
Right.
planet. So even if you're not coming at it from an ethical standpoint or a health standpoint, this planetary standpoint, you just can't avoid, like, it's insane. Our food system is insane. So
Exactly. And I think those are the hardest conversations to have, at least for us, because, well, especially with my family. So I grew up with a family who's very rural, coming from, farmland and everything. And so they're very against the change. And anytime anything's brought up, they're like, well, it's okay, that's what they're there for. And I'm like, no, not really, but we're working on that. It was so funny because we had my son's birthday party this past weekend, and my mom was talking about how they stopped and got dinner before they came, and my 2-year-old son says, Nana, you eat meat when you went out? And she's like,
no.
yeah. And he said, but why? That's an animal. Why you eat animals? And she's like, because they're good. He said, I don't eat those. So it's just funny to hear like how kids even react to that.
My kids have both been raised vegan too, and they sometimes, I'm almost embarrassed because I grew up a meat eater, so I sort of understand like where they're coming from, and that change is hard. But my kids are like, ew, that's like a dead chicken. And I'm like, you're right. But let's not shut that at the table right now. We can have that conversation later. But
yeah, exactly. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, okay, this is the good time for you to do that, because you can get away with it.
You can get away with it.
They don't feel as offended, but you can kind of get the message across. So, like, we were doing a neighborhood event for Halloween, and the kids were out there, and Camden, our 4-year-old, was introducing himself to everyone. He's like, hey, I'm Cam, I'm a special vegan. Nice to meet you.
That's awesome. No, it is good. And I do think just the kids being out there, they're so aware. I mean, my kids are a little bit older, so now mine are 11, and Jaden's 11, and Adeline's about to be 9. She'll be 9 in January 19th. It's coming up. Wow. But so they're spreading it just by, the teachers are all like, oh, that looks good, whatever they're eating, or their teacher gifts are always like gift certificates to the restaurant or something, to try to get people to try something different. And our whole philosophy, because I was reluctant at the beginning, is about getting people into the table, like join us for a meal, come in and just see, because even if you can't clearly we're fully vegan. I mean, we don't buy leather. We're very, very vegan in all of our choices, but not everybody's going to go where we are, or it's going to take them a journey to get there. So we're hoping that by inviting people into the family, by inviting them into our spaces, and enjoying hopefully food that they enjoy, that it's going to help shift it, even if it's just one meal a week, because I feel like that makes a big impact. Yes. And here, I don't know yet because of the pandemic, but in California, we were probably about 85% of the folks were not vegan. And which I was super excited about, because I think it makes such a huge impact to have people at least partaking for part of their week in something that's plant-based and vegan. And so that would make me really proud, and hopefully we'll get some idea of what's, who knows here. I everything right now, we've all been skating by, so I don't know what that looks like right now. I haven't been watching and researching like I would normally do, but I do feel like a lot of people bring in their family, and the vegans, we cook a lot for ourselves. We're used to not being able to get food when we go out. So it's very easy for us to just cook for ourselves. But the non-vegans, if they want a healthier choice, they can't always, don't know how to make it. And so I like being that option for people to make that choice when they want to. So
do you remember how we found Sanctuary Bistro?
Yeah, we wanted something nice for our anniversary. And we were like, okay, so there's all of these fine dining restaurants in Charlotte, of course, but we need something vegan that we can eat, and not just something with like a salad. So I was like, where in the world are we going to go? And then we found you, and I was like, oh my gosh, this menu looks incredible.
Oh,
and
good.
It did not disappoint. The first time we went, it was the barbecue filet with the beet egg on top.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, how in the world did they make this look like an actual egg?
Barry's magic. I don't know what he does, like magic pixie dust, a little love. I don't know. He sprinkles a little of this and a little of that in there and makes things happen. But yeah, he's magic. I don't know how.
I'm pretty sure we ate a week's worth of food that night, because
it was so hard.
Everything on the menu just looked so good. I was like, okay, let's try this too. Oh, and we should get this. And let's also get this over here.
Wasn't I your server that first time? Oh yeah, that's so fun. That's so fun. I know. And then the second time I was your server too.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know if
I think you finally got some help at that point in time, because I know you were running it all there for a while.
Yeah, for a minute there. That's partly why I have no concept of all the like details, because I was the server for every shift. But now we have 2 servers, and they're amazing. So if you come in for a shift and I'm not there, you'll see Maddie and Lee, and they're pretty awesome.
That's great. But I will tell you though, like for someone who was running the whole thing by yourself, you couldn't tell, because you had it all together. I mean, it was like we weren't waiting for a long time. You were very on top of everything. So we definitely appreciated it all. I
hide my fear on the inside.
No.
Yeah, because it's strange, like you said, because once you showed me the place, once I find the place, I like going to stalker mode. I want to see who the owner is and this and that. So I already knew. I was like, okay, she's the owner, she's the host, she's the waitress. I'm sitting here, like, okay, she's at this table, she's talking to these people, she's bringing that food out, she's in the back. I'm like, this woman is going at it.
I mean, you got to be a rock star. If you're going to be a business owner, you have to be willing to just, I mean, especially if you want to just survive. And that's why Barry and I people are like, why don't you get a bigger place? And I don't want to. One, I love that I get to know a lot of my customers, and where I'm really bad with names, I can remember like the conversations we've had, and that I served you, and things that you liked. And I really like that about our space. And Barry remembers, people who just get takeout or on the shifts, he remembers all of them. And so I really like that about having a small space, but also when it's in a hard time, like this pandemic, we aren't insane, which is why we went in the restaurant business in the first place, because you don't go into it if you think you're a normal person. Right. But so it's a size that it's a lot for one person, but we can make it work. And we can, if you dive in, or I don't know, sell your soul, I don't know what it is, but if you can like make it work, it's a space that we can do that. And hopefully, in a way that people still feel like they're getting great service. Or at least know that I'm really trying to get them their water on time, or whatever it is. Sometimes there is a wait just because of the nature of how it is right now. There's definitely, this is the smallest staff we've ever had. There's only 4 of us working in the restaurant. And the smallest before that was 6. And that was our smallest ever. And we were up to 10. So But I think we do a really good job. Everybody's doing a really good job for what we have and what we're working with, and get us out of this crazy whatever whatever this is. I can't even talk about that.
Exactly. No, I think it's great. So I know that you were in California before, right? With your restaurant. So what made you decide to make the move to Charlotte?
Yeah, we had the restaurant there for 5.5 years. It was really successful. But my family lives in Beaufort, South Carolina, my parents, and my siblings are all up in Massachusetts. And we started our first restaurant in California when the kids were 1 and 4. And as a mom, raising kids, little kids, doing restaurant work, it felt agonizingly lonely. Barry worked all the time. I mean, we all work all the time. But so when I was home, I was always home alone with the kids. It just felt so agonizingly lonely. I mean, I had a community. It was great. But I needed more. So we closed that restaurant to move closer to family. And so now my parents are still 4 hours away, but I go there on weekends, for the holidays. It just, when I need a day away, I can just go for 2 days. It just feels I really recognize that family is so important. And when I was younger, I just wanted to get away.
Right.
And then, while the kids are younger, I was like, I need somebody back. And every stage, the kids change, the restaurant changes. I call the restaurant my twins. So the restaurant changes, the kids change, I change. And so in all those parts, you just want to be able to reconnect with where you came from, who you are, all the things that really matter, especially when you work, Barry works 75 hours a week, and I work at home right now in the office is like 40 hours and homeschool Jaden. And then I'm 20 hours currently, since I have servers, yay, for at nights. So it's just a lot of hours that you're putting into it. So you want something back.
Yes.
And so it's nice having the family there for that.
No, I completely agree with you. And I think that for us, the biggest blessing, honestly, was COVID, because before that, our life was such a hustle and bustle. I was, commuting to work and in the office, and then coming home to barely see the kids before bed. And then once COVID hit and I started getting to work from home, I was like, hey, I can't let this go away. Like, this is the best thing that's ever happened. I can get all my work done, and I actually get to see my family for once, before my kids are so old that it doesn't even matter. And then
that's when we started homeschooling too. So we got to be with the kids the majority of the day and teach them the things that we feel that they can pick up on. And if they're in public school where they have 20, 30 students, because I remember the virtual classes, we would be hearing that, and we would hear it sounded like chaos. And we're just sitting there like, how is he going to learn anything?
Yeah, the virtual classes did not work, especially for my son. My daughter has gone back to school since COVID ended. She loves the public school setting. She is very connected to people. She loves being around people. I think it was really hard for her to be in a more singular setting. We had 4 kids in our homeschool at the time, because I homeschooled the neighbors' kids, and then on Fridays she took all 4, and I had them Monday through Thursday. But Jaden, my son, who has never really liked school, who functions sort of on a different mind plane, loved homeschooling and begged me. And I said, there's no way. I work so much. How would I make this work? And he just kept going. He wrote an essay, and that kid hates to write. He's like a reader. He wrote an essay. And so I was like, okay, we'll try it. We'll do another year. So we did a full year of homeschooling through COVID, and then we're doing it again this year. And he is thriving. He just loves, happier than I'd ever seen him, snugglier. And so I feel pretty lucky.
Yeah.
That was a big step for us, because I remember when you asked me about homeschooling, and she told me, she was like, I just knew you were gonna think I was crazy or something like that. Because I don't know, I could tell since we've been together almost 12 years or whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of can feel when something's starting to come up, especially with being around and hearing how homeschool is and stuff, or hearing how public school is and everything.
Right.
So I kind of got prepared for it. And then she told me, oh, it's just simple. All I've got to do is go online and this and that, and then they'll take him out of public school. And then it's so easy. All you got to do is have a high school diploma. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, I've got to have like a master's degree and all this other stuff. But she told me how simple it was. I was like, oh.
Well, the great thing is now, and I'm sure, again, this is something just like going vegan, that it's not always been this simple, but now there's so many resources available that it's a lot easier if you're able to be home with your kids, to be able to do the homeschooling. And we're fortunate to where our schedules are opposite. So when I'm working, Yuri's able to help out the kids, and then when he's working, I'm able to help the kids. So it's great that our schedules align that way. And I know not everyone does, but I'm definitely very grateful to be able to do this, because it's something that, I don't know, like, I guess as a kid, I always wanted to spend more time with my mom. She had a busy work schedule, and I'm like, I finally get to do this, and I never thought I could.
I know, it's so cool. It's also infuriating sometimes. So.
Like I always say, since I am a teacher, I can daydream. Because teaching our oldest, what was it?
It was like the 3-digit multiplication.
Oh, good.
We was at it. No, it's not good. We was at it for like
we're in algebra.
5 or 6 hours.
Algebra. I am like, okay, honey, I failed math all my life, but I'm getting it. I'm like so proud of myself, but he's getting it first.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Thank God he understands. I just like read what it says, and then he understands it, and then he's getting the answers right. I'm like, you are amazing. Algebra. Woo! Yeah, the 3-digit.
I remember I was sitting there, I was showing him step by step, and then I pulled up a YouTube video where he's breaking it down. He's showing everything piece by piece. And I'm telling my son, like, yes, you see this one, you carry this one. Then when you get down here, you mark this one off, and then you put another one up here. And I'm like, make sure you forget that. You got to put that 0 down there. And then he showed me his work, and I'm like, what is this? I can't even read this.
They don't do that anymore.
No.
It's all different now. Math is very different now. I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that, number one, you're absolutely incredible, because I've just seeing you from a distance and like kind of peeking through the window at your life, everything that you're doing and you're promoting with your company and your business, and really sticking to your values and your morals, and kind of pushing those out into the world. And in a great way, through food, because everyone loves food. And I think it's a wonderful way and a wonderful message and mission that you have with your business. And I know we were talking about before the call that you also do benefit dinners. So can you tell us some more about that?
Yep. So every Wednesday night, so pre-COVID, we had this all set up. We were rocking it. Every Wednesday night, we had different benefit dinners. We donate 15% every Wednesday night to a different local nonprofit. And then we kind of had to fizzle out during COVID because we just had to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're sort of getting back in the swing of things. So we've been doing benefit dinners again all the month of November, and all through December we had filled up, which was awesome, with a different benefit every week. So if you know any nonprofits, or if anybody knows any nonprofits that would benefit, they have to have a mission of compassion and love, They can send them to us and give us a link so we can look into it and make sure it fits our values. And then we like to donate 15%. But the background and why we started this, I was a special education teacher for 18 years before I got into Barry was the food person and I was a special educator. And for a large chunk of that time, I worked with kids coming out of juvenile hall or expelled from school. And I just realized how the schools are not holistic and that the system is really, really broken. And the kids that I worked with were 6th grade to 22. And the stories that they had told me about their experiences with teachers and the other adults in their life were really horrifying. And when an 18, we have little ones. So when our child is mad at us, they like cross their arms, they stomp their foot and they say, I hate you, mom or dad or whoever, they like whatever they think might get you the most. And am I allowed to curse on this?
Yes. Yeah.
So a teenager who is mad, stomps their foot, crosses her arm, maybe flips a desk and says, fuck you, bitch. And it's the exact same reaction. It's not them trying to be violent at me. It's a frustration and not knowing how to express it. And like prison systems are filled with folks that have language-based learning disabilities. So if you can't process auditorially, or you can't verbally communicate, or you don't understand what people are telling you, not by their fault, just by the way life has been, then you are going to fail and people are going to judge you and you are going to be tracked into whatever track. Well, I worked with this one student who used to like sling drugs with his dad. And I said, that is what you have to do. That is, I can't tell you, I can't go against your dad. You and your dad are doing what you do. But I can tell you there are only a few options at the end of that road, which is jail, death. There's that road leads down a specific path. And so education can give you an opportunity for a different path in the future. Even if you can't make that choice right now, you have to make the choice that you make. But the system doesn't really let the kids do that in the way that they need to, because no one can learn if they don't have food on the table, or no one can learn. So that was a long way to say that I was really frustrated with that system. And the restaurant gave us an opportunity to be able to give back to programs that are and we want to do more of that, to programs that are fighting systemic wrongs that we don't agree with. And we're fairly vocal about them. We do an email newsletter twice a month or something, and it says like Jen's words of compassion, which really does make some folks mad. Like I got an email back for one of them, like, you're so hoity-toity, why do you think you're better than all of us, telling us all how to be in the world? And I said, these are not steadfast rules for you. These are my thoughts about how to make this world a better place. You can agree or disagree, but my mission statement, people keep telling me just keep it about food, but that's not my mission. My mission is about kindness and compassion, and food is just one avenue of that. And so I feel like we started this restaurant to be able to make a difference in as many ways as we can. And because you can't do everything, supporting these nonprofits allows me to do more. It's a little bit, we're a tiny little restaurant. It's not tons of money. They're not making thousands from us, but I feel like every little bit helps. And so we'll keep writing those letters and keep having those nonprofits and making sure they align with our social justice concerns. And hopefully down the road, there's a ripple effect in that more people want to just make the world better. It doesn't have to be political. It just has to be kinder. The world just has to be kinder. we have to start thinking about like why we're judging people for what we see, but we're not finding out why. Why is there violence? Why is all of this happening? What is missing from our world that we're not seeing? You know, all this online stuff. Everybody's like, oh, warriors online. I'm like, you gotta lay off, like be nice, because that's also starts a chain reaction. You don't realize your negative comment might seem benign, but it goes 10 doors down and you don't know what it's become because you've affected somebody in some way.
Yeah.
So
I think that's absolutely beautiful. And I love this cause because, I mean, the thing is, of course, no one can do everything. No matter how much you want to do everything, you would completely burn out and you just don't have the time or the energy or the hours to do everything. But any little thing that we can do in this world to help and show kindness, and like you said, it's not political, it's human issues that we need to help and kind of guide, and like Yuri talks about all the time, breaking generational curses. And I think this is a great way to do that, because you're, through these benefit dinners, you're allowing the funding to help these different organizations who can reach more people then.
right.
And I'm gonna
I actually had a talk about that. The generational, I did a talk about that at when I first moved here, they flew me back to California to do a talk about compassion. And I talked about generational, like every single one of us has a generational baggage, good, bad, whatever. And you can only break it if we start talking about it, you know, and we have to recognize it. I don't know. Sorry.
No,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say I'm a testament of definitely of your background, because I have a felony charge of possession. Had that's resolved now. You pay tons of money that can get wiped away. But I'm definitely a testimony of that just because one bad night doesn't define you.
Right.
But that one bad night can screw you up for years and years, and you pay back tons of money, tons of time for a lawyer to go in front of a judge and say a couple words, and everything's screwed. Every job application you have to put on there, convicted felon, and you hear, yeah, we're gonna hire you, and then your background comes back and we say, no, we can't hire you, and then so you take whatever job that you can afford, and it's just it's not worth it. Not at all.
Well, the other thing is that so many people don't even have the resources to even have the lawyer to help them get to the place that you are today, which is so once you're in the hole, like once you're there in front of the judge and no one's backing you up, I mean, then what? No one's there for you. I mean, if you don't have resources, then you can't fight it. You can't, it's not even fighting it. You've accepted it. I mean, at some point you just have to accept where you're at. But to move forward, you need people to back you somehow.
Exactly.
And the world, like even at the restaurant, we're very limited in who we can hire, because I lose my liquor license if I hire somebody who's had any kind of drug related charges. It's the restaurant industry. So, I mean, it causes these limitations. And in other states, you can hire people who were convicted felons and, you know, to help as rehab. And I couldn't do that here, you know, at the restaurant currently, just because of the ABC license has so much control over. So I don't know. There is it's all systemic. So it goes back so far, you know, you're like, nobody realizes how far back that reaching goes. And they were like, well, you got to just pull yourself out. Well, how do you pull yourself out if the resources aren't there? If you don't have transportation, how do you get to that drug rehab? Or, I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, just how do you get, if you don't have money, how do you get the lawyer? If you don't have access to knowledge about how to fix those choices, you just can't I don't know. I used to get written up because I was working with a student who hadn't been to school for most of their career, and mom had to turn themselves into prison, and they struggled with drugs. And so I tried to help the family get a drug program and get grandma involved, and like got involved. I didn't go to the family, but I talked to the family a lot, trying to get the student to come in. And so we did got a lot of programs for the family, but I got written up the whole time. I mean, it was like, I was in trouble because I was too involved. And I was like, well, my job is to educate, and I can't educate this child without setting them up for success. I mean, there's no way this child could learn if mom didn't turn herself in, because they're looking for her. She's trying not to go to school, to come into a public place, or, you know, all of the things that happen. I'm like, if she signs up for this drug treatment program and then she turns herself in, she can maybe reduce her time. Like, let's help her make this easier. I mean, she doesn't know, and they want to keep people stupid. I mean, they want to keep people from knowing, because it costs more money. And
exactly. I believe those are the two biggest things: the education and keeping people ignorant, and then also the food industry and keeping people sick, because those are the two biggest things, right? Because if we keep people stupid, then, like you talked about, they end up in this prison pipeline. Big business. If we keep people sick with food, where they end up on? Medicine, big pharma, another big business. So we're pushing people into these two big industries, and it's all set up that way. Right.
What people also don't understand, people will ask me, like, why is it so expensive here? Like, I can go to this place and I was like, well, we buy all organic, and we buy all like sustainable, and everything we have is compostable. And I'm like, whether or not you agree, and whether or not, because some people are like, well, the organic food still has some residue. I was like, but I'm voting with my dollars. Every time I spend money on organics, I'm voting to say that organics is my choice. And the government is subsidizing non-organic food right now, the lowest grade quality. So you can get this low grade non-organic food from these big farms under cost. It's under what the corn actually costs. So when you come to eat at my restaurant, you're actually paying for what food costs. And people don't realize that everything, you know, to get value and to get quality and to make change in the world, you have to be willing to vote, not just like vote with a check mark, but you have to vote for, prioritize the things that you think are important in the world. And then those are the things that you buy. So organic, I vote for organic. I want the small organic farms to succeed, and I want them to stop poisoning our food and all of our food. And people who have, and I have, you know, I'm not the richest person. I own a restaurant, but there are people who are struggling more than me who cannot make that vote. They have to go with the McDonald's that's on their street corner. And so I feel like I'm obligated to make that vote. Like, I have to choose the better option. So hopefully that becomes more the norm. In my mind, that's what I feel like I'm doing. Because as more people go towards that, it becomes cheaper. So if more people go organic and more people do whatever, it will not be this like out there kind of thing. It'll become more normalized and cheaper for other folks to be able to have access to it. Yeah. Those are my weird philosophies in life.
I mean, maybe I'm weird too, because I don't think any of that is straight.
Yeah, that's our dream, that organic will be, instead of paying $3 for a piece of corn, that it'll be 75 cents a pound like all the other stuff. And
no, well, it will never be that, because 75 cents is probably paid. The farmer was paid by the government and the corn was just an extra bonus money. So that's the problem.
But the thing too is, like, when we say it's cheaper, it's not cheaper because like you said, it's being subsidized by the government, and the government's not just giving this money away for free. The money is coming from us. So
right,
either way, you're paying for the food.
And it also is designed to make you sicker, like these. Well, I mean, I don't know if they're designed GMO. It's hard to get into the GMO talk with people, but food, we're not eating the food that was indigenous as it was in its indigenous form, right. Like corn, we're not eating as it was before. It has become something much different. I don't even know if, what I'm eating, all the different, I don't even know what corn you get to be the best corn, the most right. natural at this point, but it's not what it was and where it came from.
Yeah, well, that and the soil is being so overused that the nutrients in the food is not as rich as it once was either. Right. So I think, honestly, it's one of those things where no matter what, there's always going to be something, but we have to do our best to make the best choices that we believe in.
Yes, it's true. And hopefully people will, people ask, and I like when people ask or question why we do things. Like, I like when they ask me kindly, but even when they don't, which, you get the best and the worst, I think, in the restaurant biz. Oh, yeah. Like, it's just what happens. And I feel like I always try to respond with kindness, no matter how. If somebody's nice to me, I'm like, it really warms my heart and lifts me up, actually, because it's a hard business to be in. So people don't realize, like, and I try to let them know, like, when you write to me and you say those kind words, it actually does a lot to lift us up. But even when somebody says something negative, or, like they didn't like my email, I take the time to write when I feel calm, and to write, a real response back to them. And they might never respond, but I hope they read it. Most of the time they don't respond, but I hope they read it, and that their next interaction, one with another person, is kinder when they disagree, but also because everybody wants to be able to believe what they believe. And so even the person who's coming at me, they want to believe their thoughts. So the reason they're upset is because my thoughts don't agree with their thoughts. Right. So they feel like I'm fighting with them. But really, I'm just trying to get people to start thinking more about every choice that you make. You make the choice that you need to make for you, but every choice you make has a consequence. Yeah. And so what are you willing to sacrifice for that? What are you willing to accept? And mostly we do it blindly. I think a lot of us just make blind choices. Like when I go to Target for one thing and I come out with 60 million things, I feel like most of us go through life that way. Yes. And just blindly make a bunch of things happen with no idea about, like, where that's all gonna go. Yeah, exactly. I think we've all made those choices. I went into Kohl's to do an Amazon return, and I came out with a Lego set. So my kids and I walked to Target 2 days ago. We walked there. We each had our little backpacks. We had so much stuff that we were like walking back, like trudging back the mile back to our house. I was like, what have we done? But but that's sometimes how we don't make the right decisions, but a lot of times they're with good intentions. Yeah. But I remember when we went to New Orleans last year, and we were like, oh, it's going to be a great decision for us to just walk, because it's less than a mile from the hotel. And if we just walk over here, it'll be fine. Yeah. No. First of all, we didn't understand the area that we were in. Went down the wrong road.
That was funny. Hold on, you got to backtrack. Because I remember there was this one restaurant we found, and we wanted to try it. And where were we? We was at some park or something.
We went to the aquarium.
I went to the aquarium. And we was like, okay, it's just 15. What was it, like 20 minutes?
No, it was like a half a mile from the hotel.
Okay.
But it wasn't really a half a mile because where all the storms came through, they had a lot of roads shut down. So we couldn't walk down these roads. So it ended up being, I think it was about 3 miles.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And we had Amari at the time wasn't even quite 2 years old yet. So he was like alternating between our shoulders and he was asleep. So he's like hanging off our back.
Yeah, and it was crazy because New Orleans, you could be on a popular street, and then next thing you know, you're walking by houses with bars on the windows, and you got people in their cars where you can see they're over here rolling up joints and stuff like this. And
I lived in Ponchatoula, Louisiana for a summer too.
So you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, oh yeah, if we just stay on this road. And then I was like, okay, we need to hurry up and get through this road.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some strange looks, just like, what the hell are they doing walking through here? Who is this black man with this white woman and these mixed kids just walking through here like it's nothing?
They probably appreciated it.
It was COVID time, so maybe that's why they didn't approach us.
Yeah.
Sorry for that sounded like gunfire in the microphone. It's not too loud. The phone dropped.
Oh, good.
That was my sound effect.
Yeah.
That was to go with the storyline.
Yeah, that goes really well. I know. Well, that's the one thing, we came from where we came from in California. It was like everybody was rolling joints. I mean, here, no one rolls joints really, but it's much more secretive here. So it doesn't matter what neighbor you're in, it's more secretive here. So
yeah, exactly.
So maybe that makes everybody mellower.
Exactly. Oh man, I can't believe we're already been on here for like an hour. I don't want to keep holding you up, but we have had an amazing time talking to you, and we will definitely have to make the journey back down there again because food is absolutely incredible. Anyone in the Charlotte area or anyone coming into the Charlotte area for visiting or anything, be sure to stop by Sanctuary Bistro. Please be kind to Jennifer and all of her staff. They're very limited on staff right now. Please be kind. And Jennifer, can you please tell all of our listeners where they can find you and if they're interested in the benefit dinner and being a part of that, how they can get in touch with you?
Yes. So Sanctuary Bistro is located in Ballantyne area. So that's 6414 Ray Road in Charlotte by Trader Joe's. So, and we're at www.sanctuarybistro.com. You can check it out. You can find out about our cookbook. You can find out about all of our dinner menus, which our dinner menu changes seasonally. And then our benefit dinners, if you know a local nonprofit, send them our way because we are looking to book up for 2022, which is right around, I guess it's come. We're in 2022 right now. And so send the benefit dinners our way so we can support local nonprofits of Charlotte and be loving and kind.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.